Hello, everyone. I need some guidance on a situation that has left me feeling very confused and angry. Last weekend, my fiancée, 33 years old, and I, 34 years old, went to a pool party invited by one of her acquaintances. While there, I didn't know anyone, so we began to socialize. I chose not to drink because I was planning to drive and also because I don't like drinking with people I don't know well. I always prefer to be alert for anything that might arise, as I am very cautious about my and my loved ones' safety. The thing is, during the party, marijuana was passed around. I don't smoke, but my girlfriend does. After a while, I approached a group of people to chat, and my girlfriend joined that group too. However, at some point, she started talking to a particular man, smoked a bit of marijuana with him, and then they ended up chatting alone for about 20 minutes. Afterward, they moved away to the barbecue to eat something, away from the group, and they sat there for about 15 more minutes. Meanwhile, I was alone without talking to anyone, and I felt completely excluded. They didn't even bother to include me in the conversation. And when I finally approached, they didn't even look at me. Only my girlfriend turned and asked me if I wanted some meat to eat. This really upset me, especially because I felt mocked and undervalued. Additionally, the man my girlfriend was talking to mentioned at the end of his story, "And in the end, I met you," referring to her, and he said it in front of me. However, my girlfriend claims she doesn't remember that part. Finally, when the man went to the bathroom, my girlfriend asked me if we were leaving, to which I replied yes. During the time they were together, they mutually added each other on Instagram. When I confronted my girlfriend, she simply said she hadn't realized how I was feeling and apologized. But that doesn't change the fact that it already happened and made me feel really bad. Additionally, I'm bothered by the double standard, as I've always been attentive to her, and she always expects me to be present and attentive. It's been 3 days since the incident, and I'm still very angry and disappointed. We've talked about it via message, but I still don't feel like seeing her in person or even talking on the phone with her. I don't want to let this disrespect pass, and it makes me wonder what she would do when I'm not around. I even want to call off the wedding and break up with her. We have been in a relationship for 5 years. I love her, but I cannot let this disrespect go. And it makes me doubt her loyalty. I don't want this incident to just pass like that. I don't think she realized she was getting hit on. I greatly appreciate any advice or perspectives you can offer. Edit. To provide further context, in the past, she has consistently expressed dissatisfaction with my level of attentiveness toward her, even going so far as to complain during family gatherings about my perceived lack of presence by her side. Moreover, there have been instances where she has caused significant distress over my interactions with female colleagues, whether in person or on social media, even when those interactions were purely professional or platonic. She has often insinuated that any conversation I engage in with a woman in a social setting is motivated by romantic intentions. That's why the double standards. Regarding the recent party, it was an environment that didn't align with my personal preferences. It was hosted by a rap video director and attended predominantly by rappers and models whose attire and behavior leaned towards what some might consider provocative or even vulgar. I found it difficult to relate to the atmosphere, despite engaging in conversation with a photographer specializing in lingerie, who happened to be one of the directors of the video. Additionally, given my girlfriend is very attractive and pretty, there was an underlying expectation to invite similarly attractive women to the event, so they would have a lot of hot girls at the party. And I don't like the intentions behind this dude I was talking to, as he has invited my girlfriend to have a lingerie photo shoot, something that I have said to her I don't feel comfortable with, and this definitely would make me want to break up with her. It's not that I am antisocial, it's that this party didn't align with my values, and on the other hand, I did not want to be around the girls, so I wouldn't have a misunderstanding with my girlfriend. That's why I feel disappointed. Edit #2. I live in a big city in Mexico, and I have had bad experiences with the narcos. Even 14 years ago, I escaped a kidnap attempt. Ever since, and after a couple more incidents, and even a shootout in a party, I'm always alert and scanning everyone. And if I don't feel comfortable with something out of the ordinary, I go on alert mode and it is very difficult for me. So, that's why I choose not to drink or smoke in places and with people I don't know. Edit #3. I never thought this would be this controversial. Maybe I am just over-explaining at this point. But just to wrap up, when she offered me food, it was just like one sentence. There is meat on the grill if you're hungry, and then turned back to the guy. It was not the treatment she would expect from me, as she always demands a princess treatment. I am not insecure. It's not that I feel jealous or less than other men. It's not other men. It's her attitude and her double standards. I did not approach them right away because we are supposed to trust each other and know when something is off boundaries. That's why I decided to approach only after given enough time to check if it was my ego or if it was really something going on. I decided to post this in English and not Spanish because this sub has 3.5 million followers instead of the Spanish version of just 9K. I thought I would get better and faster answers or different points of view. Of course, I know I might be wrong. That's why I'm taking this time to let this anger go away before saying something that would hurt her or making the wrong call. I am confused. That's why I'm asking in this platform. I don't know if calling having boundaries and self-respect for your partner is something cultural or even machismo. Of course, we have different societies, but one thing I can tell is that in the Anglo society, or what I know of California, Canada, and some places in Europe, men are very soft, and they let everyone, including their partners, walk all over them. This is not cultural. One thing is good empowerment of women, but another is letting them treat you like trash or being okay with your girlfriend flirting. I've had one American girlfriend and one from Europe, and they are spoiled, and that's something I don't want. That's why I prefer to marry a more traditional Latina woman. But big cities and new ideologies spoil women. We are equals, but we are not the same. You have to respect and set boundaries. That's it. Thank you for your insights. Even if they tell me I'm wrong or intense, I knew that this would happen by posting in the sub. All answers are valid. Thank you again. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I agree with the responses here that this feels like a disproportionate response. It does kind of suck, and can grate on your nerves to be the one sober person at a party. I would say that if your fiancé does really want your constant attention at parties, that is a troublesome bit of double standard. Do you typically want that from her as well? Does she know that? Comment 2. It's wild to me that you didn't think it was relevant to the story to tell us about the environment, the specifics of the people, the history of your relationship, or that he asked her to pose in lingerie for him, until you got called out on overreacting. Wait, not wild, and that's not the right word. I meant fake. Now, for the update. Hello, everyone. Thanks for your comments on my last post. They've been a lot to think about. So, things have escalated since I last wrote. My fiancé and I had a huge fight. It started over something small, but it quickly turned into a mess. She found out I was talking to people online about our issues, and she was furious. She said I was airing our dirty laundry for strangers to see. I tried to explain that I needed advice, but she wouldn't listen. In the middle of our argument, she got a message from that guy from the party. I saw his name pop up on her phone, and I lost it. I grabbed her phone and read their messages. They were planning to meet up for coffee. When I confronted her, she said it was just as friends, but I didn't believe her. She's never just gone for coffee with a guy friend before. And after what happened at the party, I couldn't trust her. I told her she had to choose, him or me. She said I was being ridiculous and that I couldn't control who she was friends with. That's when I did something I regret. I told her if she went to meet him, we were done. I thought it would make her see how serious I was, but she just got angrier and said she needed space to think. We didn't talk for the rest of the day. The next day, she told me she was going to stay with a friend for a while. I felt like my world was falling apart. I didn't want to lose her, but I also couldn't stand the thought of her with someone else. Then, my best friend called me. He said he saw my fiancé out with the guy from the party. They looked cozy, he said. I was so mad I could barely see straight. I wanted to go there and confront them, but my friend talked me out of it. He said it would only make things worse. I've been staying at my place, alone, trying to figure out what to do. I love her, but I feel like she's slipping away from me. I don't know if that I should fight for her or let her go. It's like every decision I make is the wrong one. I've been thinking about everything that's happened, and I can't shake the feeling that I'm being played for a fool. I've always been the one to bend over backward for her, and now she's out there and possibly starting something with another guy. It's like all my fears are coming true. I'm not sure where we go from here. I want to believe we can work things out, but I also feel like maybe it's time to walk away. I just don't know if I'm strong enough to do it. Thanks for reading. I'll keep you updated on what happens next. But my wife wants me to ditch my best friend over an old affair. But when his life falls apart, I stick by him and help his wife see the light. My wife, let's call her Maria, basically wants me to end my longtime friendship with, let's say, Nelson, 37-year-old male. First, a few years ago, before we were married, we were at a friend's birthday. There was a lot of drinking involved, and Nelson was sort of making fun, riling up Maria. I don't think Nelson meant harm, but Maria got triggered and ended up overreacting by yelling back at him and going to the bathroom to cry, and sort of ruined the rest of the day, in my opinion. Nelson told me that night he felt bad about it, and Maria and I talked it through the next day and moved past it. Flash forward to about a month ago, Maria and I are now married with a newborn, and we went out to dinner for my birthday. It ended up being Nelson, another close friend, a newer friend, and that newer friend decided to bring two of his friends, which I wasn't thrilled about but didn't want to be rude. The dinner turned into sort of a boys' night with nonstop talk about football and college, and Maria felt ignored and ended up saying she wanted to go home after the dinner, but encouraged me to stay out with my friends for a little, since we don't get out that much anymore, which I did. The next day, the dinner didn't really sit well with either of us, so I texted Nelson and my other friend asking them why they didn't talk much to Maria. My other friend was apologetic and said he'd make a better effort next time. But Nelson replied, "Because I didn't want to make her angry." When I asked what he meant by that, he said, "Like what happened at that birthday party." That didn't sit well with me either. So after mulling, I decided to write him a fairly long email telling him how I felt. He's made some other comments here and there about my wife's temper that I wasn't thrilled about, so I put it all out there, telling him that I found all of this hurtful, and as one of my best friends, I wanted to communicate this to him. He replied to the email that night, basically saying, "I'll always be your friend and always feel free to reach out," but didn't address any of what I said. I replied to his email letting me know that I was disappointed in his reply and that I'm hoping he can elaborate more on what he thinks of all this, but he never replied to that. Yet, he continued chatting it up in our mutual group text threads. I was struggling to process his response, or lack thereof, to something I tried to clearly show was important to me. I came across some literature on cognitive behavioral therapy. More specifically, the theory on grudge holding and how it can increase anxiety and stress, and the power that forgiveness can have on your mental health. This really resonated with me, and I discussed this with my wife, that I just wanted to forgive Nelson, but not forget, and move forward, and she said she understood and was okay with that. Then, yesterday, she approached me and said she's noticed me talking to him in group chats, like nothing happened, and basically reversed course and said she feels betrayed, like I'm choosing him over her. I tried discussing how she'd like to move forward, and she didn't specifically say she wanted me to end my friendship with him, but is clearly upset by any continued communication. So I feel like at this point, my only option is just to phase Nelson out of my life. I'm really struggling because on one hand, this is a longtime friend who has always been there for me, including as a groomsman. On the other hand, my wife is obviously the more important person to me, and I can't understand why Nelson is handling this current situation the way he is, barely even acknowledging something I've really tried to show is important to me. How do I move forward? Is there any way to continue a friendship while continuing to support my wife, or is that just unrealistic? Update. Thank you to everyone that chimed in. It's clear what path needs to be taken here. I appreciate the clarity, it's given me comfort. Should have realized all this before, I know. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Forgiving doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. You can forgive your friend and still acknowledge that his actions are mean-spirited toward your partner and that he isn't interested in addressing them. Nelson clearly wants to move forward with the status quo, but that doesn't mean you have to throw up your hands and say, well, I tried, but for my mental health, I'm just going to pretend everything's fine. It sounds like he's not as good a friend as you'd hoped. That sucks, but why let his laissez-faire attitude be the dominating approach instead of supporting your wife? And yourself. You tried to discuss a conflict that hurt you, and he brushed it off. Is that really the actions of a close friend? I'd also add that it doesn't sound like your wife is actually asking you to end a long-time friendship, even if that's the end result. She's expressing hurt at your decision to continue talking to someone who actively dislikes and/or disdains her. What you do about that is up to you. Comment 2. I came across some literature on cognitive behavioral therapy. More specifically, the theory on grudge holding and how it can increase anxiety and stress, and the power that forgiveness can have on your mental health. Here's the thing though, you can forgive someone without letting them back into your life. As a friend I had once said about people who do you wrong but are harmful in your life, you can wish someone a long, happy life. Away from you? Sounds like you subconsciously missed your friend and wanted him back, and found a way to justify allowing that without feeling guilty. Problem is, he hurt your wife, and I cannot tell if you're actually mad at him about that or just pretending to be because that's what a good husband would do. What exactly did he say about your wife at the party? Now for the update. Thank you for sticking around. A lot has happened since the last post. So after I decided to phase Nelson out, things got even messier. Marie and I were trying to adjust to life with a newborn, and the last thing we needed was more drama. But drama has a way of finding you when you least expect it. About a week after my last update, I ran into Nelson at the grocery store. It was awkward. He tried to act like nothing was wrong, but I could tell he was surprised when I didn't engage much. I just grabbed my stuff and left. But as I was driving home, I saw that he'd texted me. "We need to talk, man. It's about Maria." My heart sank. I showed Maria the text, and she went pale. Turns out, she had a secret. Before we were married, she and Nelson had a thing. It was brief, but it happened. She never told me because she didn't want to ruin the friendship I had with Nelson. I was floored. Betrayed by my best friend and my wife. It explained a lot, though, like why Nelson was always weird around her. I confronted Nelson the next day. He admitted everything and said he felt terrible about it. He said he'd been carrying the guilt for years and that it was eating him up inside. I didn't know what to feel, angry, sure. But also I felt sorry for him. It was a mess of emotions. Maria and I had a long, hard talk. She cried, I yelled, we both apologized. It was a rough patch, but we decided to work through it. We loved each other and we had a family to think about. But then, the shocker dropped. Nelson's wife, who I'll call Sarah, found out about the affair. She left him, took the kids, and was talking about divorce. Nelson was devastated. He came to me, of all people, for support. I didn't know what to do. This was the guy who'd betrayed me, but he was also falling apart. I had a choice to make. Support Nelson through his darkest hour, or turn my back on him. Maria left the decision up to me. She said she'd support whatever I chose. I thought long and hard about it. In the end, I couldn't abandon him. He'd been my friend for too long. I told Maria and she nodded. She understood. Nelson and I started talking again. Not like before, but enough. I helped him with the legal stuff. Talked him through the nights when he missed his kids like crazy. It was hard, but it felt like the right thing to do. Then one day, Sarah reached out to me. She wanted to meet, to talk about Nelson. I agreed, not sure what to expect. She told me she was considering giving Nelson another chance, but she needed to know if he'd really changed. She was looking for honesty, and she thought I could give it to her. I was torn. Nelson had been working hard to better himself, to be a good dad from a distance, to fix his mistakes. But could I vouch for him? Could I put my neck on the line for the guy who'd hurt me and my wife? I decided to tell Sarah the truth, that Nelson was flawed, like all of us, but that he was trying. that he loved his kids and missed them terribly, that he regretted what he'd done every single day. Sarah listened, nodded, and thanked me. A few weeks later, I heard that she and Nelson were going to counseling. They were trying to make it work for the kids' sake. As for Maria and me, we're doing okay. Better than okay, actually. Working through the betrayal made us stronger, more honest with each other. We're learning to trust again, slowly but surely. And Nelson, he's got a long road ahead of him, but he's walking it, and sometimes that's all you can ask for. Thank you for reading. Father-in-law sells family home and shows up at my door with debts. So I take charge and kick him out with nothing but a lesson in respect. Fun, huh? Here's some background. I've known my in-laws for going on 20 years now. My partner and I got together around 2004. For the past couple of years, my father-in-law has been acting purposefully awful when we have family get-togethers. This past Thanksgiving, we were supposed to wait for my in-laws to call and let us know exactly what time we'd be eating, around 11 a.m. Okay. We called it 10 till. Mother-in-law says it'll be at least another 30 minutes. She'll call us back when it's almost time. They only live 5 minutes away, so we go ahead and leave, thinking by the time we pick up coffee, it'll all be ready. Get a call while we're leaving the Starbucks drive-thru demanding to know why we aren't there yet. You said another 30 minutes at least. You said you'd call us back when it was ready. Remember? Well, whatever. We're only a couple of minutes away. See you soon? We get there not 5 minutes later, and father-in-law is sitting cross-armed in the living room with all the lights turned off. Angrily announces he's already eaten. We've ruined Thanksgiving, and it's all our fault. His wife rolls her eyes and asks everyone to just sit down at the table with her, which is beautifully decorated. And we manage to have as nice a meal as we can with him huffing and puffing and sulking in the next room, defiantly blasting talk radio. For my birthday, we gathered at Carrabba's at their invite. As soon as we arrive, I ask for a booth. I have arthritis and my body hurts sometimes. We slide into a nice big booth and partner's dad immediately starts making what I can only describe as sniffing, snorting, truffle pig noises. He loudly says, "Do you smell something? I smell something," and dives under the table, arises, cackles, then proclaims, "Somebody must have thrown up in here." Loudly enough for the whole restaurant to hear it. Calls the waiter over and we have to move. There was nothing wrong with the booth. It didn't smell like anything. Then, until the waiter comes back, he launches into an extra-long, super detailed, fond remembrance of all the times the janitor threw sawdust on vomit back when he was in elementary school, or how often people regurgitated off the side of his boat when he was a charter captain. We tried to ignore him, and he just got louder and more detailed. Finally, his poor wife said, "Mark, this is not appropriate for the dinner table," like he was a naughty 5-year-old instead of a 60-some-year-old man. And honestly, if the waiter hadn't come back right then, I think he would have kept right on talking. Talking about barf. The whole time, he had this mischievous grin on his face and devious, delighted glint in his eye. At Christmas, he started to describe some very embarrassing personal body issues his wife was having when she was hospitalized for liver problems earlier last year. And it was just awful. I felt so sorry for her. She looked completely mortified, so finally I said, "Okay, that's enough. We get it. You drew us a picture." He just chuckled and then laughed uproariously, pleased, I suppose, to get our goats once again. But today at Easter tops it all. We had a reasonably nice Easter dinner with light conversation about the weather turning warmer, spring being sprung, all the nice food my mother-in-law made, local real estate, plans for the summer, etc. Everybody was smiling and sharing and having a good time when partner's dad abruptly gets up, walks over to the china cabinet, drags out a big black box, returns, and dumps it on the table. It's a memorial casket containing their dead cat's ashes, some kind of clay disc, and a crematorium certificate, all of which he proceeds to take out and lay, one by one, on the table. The ashes weren't even in an urn, just a plastic bag he took out of a little smaller box with the poor kitty's name on it. My daughter starts to cry. She loves cats and didn't know their cat had died, and I'm sure has never heard of pet cremation, and has no idea what's going on and just overall wasn't prepared for this. How could anyone be? She runs to the bathroom and he seems pleased. Partner leaves to go check on her. I'm fuming and flummoxed, but no way am I going to give him what he wants, which is an over-the-top, shocked reaction. I calmly say, "Oh, that's interesting. How come you didn't do that for your last cat? You owned him longer." He's miffed and starts to silently, slowly put the box away, giving me the stink eye. I thank my mother-in-law, who seems to have given up hope now at ever having a normal, pleasant family gathering, and yell for everyone to come join me in the car, because it's definitely time to go. I apologize for having to leave early, but enough is enough, you know? I'm not playing any more of these reindeer games. Just as we're leaving, partner's dad runs out with a huge pesticide canister, stating he knows my partner hasn't sprayed our house enough for spring, tries to hurl the canister into the back of our car through an open window, berates my partner for being lazy, and says he'll come pick up the canister tomorrow after my partner resprays more thoroughly. I say, he does a great job on the house with what we have. What we're doing works just fine. I don't like strong pesticides. I don't know much about being used inside of the house anyway, but thanks. Back the car away and just shake my head. This guy is unbelievable and wasn't always like this. Good Lord. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. So stop going to gatherings where he is going to be present. Invite the mother-in-law and only the mother-in-law over for events and celebrations. Arrange your own birthday dinner and don't invite him. Make it explicitly clear that you will not spend time with him because of his childish, inappropriate behavior. If you believe that a neurological issue may be present, as others have suggested, talk to the mother-in-law and husband to get him to a doctor and go from there. Comment 2. My father's like this and has gotten increasingly worse with age. My sister and I avoid spending long amounts of time with him for this reason. I don't have a great answer other than low contact has been helping me keep my peace. We suspect he's had some cognitive decline with age, but the truth is he's always been like this to some extent, and we were just too young to realize it. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around for the latest. So, after the Easter disaster, I thought things couldn't get worse. I was wrong. Last week, my partner's dad, Mark, decided to up the ante. He announced he was selling the family home, the one my partner grew up in, without consulting anyone, not even his wife. He'd already met with a realtor, and a for sale sign was hammered into the front lawn before anyone could blink. The shockwave hit everyone hard. My partner's mom, usually the problem solver, was livid. She had poured her heart into that garden, and now it was just going to be handed over to strangers. The next day, my partner confronted his dad. It was a shouting match that could have woken the dead. Mark just shrugged it off, saying he was tired of the upkeep, and it was his decision to make. My partner stormed out, and I haven't seen him that angry in years. His mom, caught between her husband's stubbornness and her children's distress, was a wreck. But wait, it gets better. 2 days later, Mark's at our doorstep, unannounced, with a couple of suitcases. He says he's had a falling out with his wife and needs a place to crash. Just like that, as if he hadn't turned our lives upside down. My partner, still fuming, told him to find a hotel. But I could see the conflict in his eyes. This was still his dad, after all. Mark left, but not before muttering something about family sticking together. The irony wasn't lost on us. We thought that was the end of it, but no. The next evening, we got a call from my partner's sister. She was hysterical. Her dad had shown up at her place, drunk, ranting about how ungrateful his kids were. She had to call the cops to get him to leave. It was a mess. She's never had the best relationship with him, and this just tore it. Now, here's where I prove I'm in the right. Amidst all this chaos, I've been the one keeping a level head. I've supported my partner, comforted his mom, and even reached out to his sister to make sure she was okay. I've been the glue trying to keep this family from falling apart. Then, yesterday, Mark's wife calls. She's found out he's been hiding debts. Big ones. The house wasn't just being sold out of a whim. It was to cover what he owed. Suddenly, all his recent antics clicked into place. It was desperation, not just malice. My partner's mom was in tears, not knowing what to do or who to turn to. I took charge. I helped her get in touch with a financial advisor, started sorting through the paperwork, and even found a support group for spouses in her situation. My partner was hesitant at first, thinking I was overstepping. But when he saw the relief on his mom's face, he understood. I wasn't just meddling. I was helping where Mark had only caused hurt. So, as we stand, the house is still up for sale, but now we're all involved in the process. Mark's debts are being managed, and he's staying with a friend, someone who can hopefully knock some sense into him. My partner's mom is finding her footing, and my partner, well, he's starting to see that his dad's actions can't be excused or ignored anymore. It's been a rough week, but I'm proud of how I've handled it. I've been accused of being too involved before, but this time my actions spoke for themselves. I was there for my family when they needed me most, and I did it without losing my cool. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.